Oh, we're live. Here we go.
Here we go. Hey, what's up, you guys? wwefan0599 here again, and welcome back to the universe of the Blue Tubers. And today we're going to be doing, of course, my very own segment, Late Night with wwefan0599. This is episode number 2, and I'm here with a very special guest. I've been watching this guy for a couple of months now, and I've been really enjoying his content. Introduce yourself, my friend.
What's up? My name is Lee. I am from Drumdums, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much, WWE fan.
No problem. So yeah, of course he does movie reviews. He does, all the good stuff that we do on in the YouTube movie community. So first I'm going to start off with what got you into your passion for films?
Oh man, I've pretty much loved movies since I could walk, I think. Let me see if I can think what was the trigger. It's hard to pinpoint the one thing, but I remember when I was really little, loving like Stallone movies and Schwarzenegger movies, and I remember horror movies really just grabbed me pretty quick. Actually, at first they scared me, and I think when you're scared of something, you're interested in it, or you can go the other way and completely hate it. But yeah, so I think those three things really got me into movies, and I haven't been the same since.
Sweet. Now, kind of like what also got you into YouTube? Like, that's another question. What got you into YouTube? Why did you want to start reviewing films? Was there something like triggered in your mind?
I've always wanted to discuss movies, and I remember as soon as I had heard of YouTube and saw that, normal people like you and me were putting videos up. And then, of course, when Jeremy Johns and Stuckman and FlickPick and all those guys, I think I wanted to do it before I heard of them, but once they did it, then I was like, oh, okay, regular people are doing this like me, so maybe I can do it too. So that's kind of what gave me the, the push to make me actually want to do this. And it was scary at first. I'm not gonna lie, man. It took me about, after even starting my channel, coming up with Drumdums, it still took me like 6 months before I could even think about recording, a review, because I recorded a review right away, and then it just scared the crap out of me. And of course, when you watch your first video, it's a surreal experience, because you're watching yourself do something, and immediately you pick apart everything. You think it's the worst thing ever. Yeah. And that's what I did, and I didn't release it, of course. And then 6 months later, I finally got the guts, and I bought a camera, I bought a lighting rig. But the big thing I still had to work on was my presentation. But I went ahead and I put it out there, and it got easier, as time went. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, kind of the same thing that happened with me. Like, I did my first video, wasn't all that great. I didn't even show my face in my first couple of videos. Like, I was kind of afraid a little bit to show my face. I just thought, like, what if people start judging me? But then, like, I think it was like my top 5 movies of 2013. I finally showed my face. Seems like everybody embraced it, and now this is why everybody looks at to this day. So, yeah. So we're just going to be talking about random things. Like, we're just going to go through some things like movies, of course. We're going to talk about TV, video games, if you're into video games, comic books. Like, we're going to talk about all that stuff. So let's first start off with movies. Any recent films you have seen?
Oh yeah, me and everybody else have seen Batman vs Superman, of course.
Yes.
I watch a lot of movies on like Netflix and Vudu too. Today I watched a movie called Regression with Ethan Hawke. Not a really good movie. I try to watch at least one movie a week, but it's usually more than that. Usually I'll do maybe 2 or 3 movies a week. But yeah, I usually stick to all the new releases, unless it's something I just don't want to see. Like this weekend, there was really nothing that came out that I wanted to see, so
yeah,
I just rented something.
Yeah, I think I think I like see 3 or 4 movies a week. If like in total, if you see my channel, like you'll see like I post a video every other day, so there's like 3 or 4 videos in that week.
Yeah.
and then sometimes it'll be 2 if I do like a top 10 list or a TV show review. So yeah, I see a lot of films as well. I tried to see as many 2016 like newer release films as I can, but what I do on my channel as well is I do like once a month franchise reviews. I do once a month like Disney reviews. I try to branch out my channel a bit. Like I don't try to do the same old thing. I try to branch it out more, and instead of just doing kind of the same old thing, just reviewing newer releases. And I know you're starting to do that too. You're starting to review more franchises as well.
Yeah, actually, I started because I'm such a Halloween fan. My first month of reviewing, I started reviewing the Halloween franchise, and I don't think I had planned on making franchise reviews a thing. I just love that series so much. I was like, I'm just going to review all of these, and it'll give me a chance to kind of get my feet wet reviewing. And that's kind of what got me into that. And then I started doing the Friday the 13th. That took me 5 months to get through all those. But yeah, you know what? You're right. You're constantly trying to find new ways to grow your channel, to change your style up. I'm never satisfied. That's the biggest thing on my channel. I'm always wanting to increase, to do something different. That's another thing with me. I like different. I try not to copy everybody's. My background is similar to Stugman's. I'll be the first to admit that, but there's only so many different backgrounds you can do anyway. I'm happy with it, so but outside of that, I do try to throw in something different in every video just to keep it fresh and keep me interested, really.
Yeah, I tried to do the same thing too, at first, like, I wasn't really proud of myself because I was trying to copy everyone else, but then when I started doing my own thing, that's when I started really becoming satisfied with myself, and that's when a lot of people started actually watching my channel. I started being kind of myself and started doing my own thing, doing my own personality. So yeah, that's a big thing. You got to have personality because nobody's gonna watch your videos if you don't have personality. So, and that explains it. I mean, I have 234 subscribers and you have 2,000. So apparently someone's watching, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. You got to, first thing I think you got to do is, you got to be yourself, but you also have to look like you love what you're doing. And people will read right through you. If they see that you're just, playing it by the numbers and you're just putting out another review and you seem like you don't care, people will see right through that and it'll fail. So all the way down to the thumbnail, you really have to look like you want to succeed and you're enjoying yourself. And that's my biggest thing. I always like to, if I don't want to do a review, I usually don't do it. Most of the time I won't do it. But yeah, I think you just have to keep people interested, and in order to do that, you have to be interested.
Yes, exactly. Like, I do love what I'm doing because, it's great. I have a lot of fun doing it, talking about films with everybody, and especially now because the internet really helps people get to know other people that love that certain thing. You know what I mean? Like, you love movies, I love movies too. You know what I mean? I think it really helps, especially YouTube, meeting all these cool people that know about movies, that love them as much as you do, cherish them as much as you do.
Yeah, isn't that a great thing? Like, that's a side of it that I never expected, because in our normal lives, when we're not on YouTube, normally you can only take that movie conversation so far, with regular people, or I don't want to call them regular people, but in a community like YouTube, though, you could talk movies for hours and hours, and everybody's interested because we all love the same thing. So that's a big plus for me about this whole thing, is I've made so many great friends through this whole experience, and everybody's so genuine. Everybody has their own flavor, and everybody loves movies. That's the big common denominator with everybody. Everybody's got their own thing, but we're here for movies, and I think that's great.
Yes, like you said, I've met some good people here on YouTube, mostly, actually, if I'm going to be completely honest, this is the most I've ever made friends in my life, if I'm being honest. Like,
absolutely.
Because, there's just so many people. I've never met a jerk, to be honest. I've never met a person that was ever mean to me on here. Everybody's just nice. They're usually nice and genuine to me, and they, accept me. They, accepted me into the community. And that was awesome, and I love that. So, yeah, Now, what are some of your favorite movies of all time? Are there movies that you can always go back and watch? Me, like movies like Toy Story, of course, The Empire Strikes Back, Matrix. Those are like some The Crow, The Dark Knight. Those are like 5 movies that I can really just go back and watch over and over again. And those are really, because for a long time I started growing out of movies because I got into wrestling. Wrestling was my main priority at one point. But then when I saw The Crow and The Matrix, those are 2 movies that really got me back into films and showed me there was much more to movies. So is there any films like that that showed you there's much more to film than it's just a film?
Yeah, you just named like 4 out of 5 of them.
Oh.
The Crow is my number 2 favorite movie of all time, and number 1 being Halloween. But yeah, The Crow, Dark Knight. Yeah, I'm a big Batman fan, of course.
I love Batman too, so.
Yeah, but I love gangster movies. Goodfellas is one that I constantly go back to. Good dramas, or lately Jake Gyllenhaal's movies are really good too.
Oh,
it's hard to name all of them.
Southpaw, like those movies.
Yeah, Nightcrawler is just fantastic. But yeah, there's so many of them. I have so many movies that I just love. Pulp Fiction, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like we have pretty similar taste.
Exactly. Like, I'm glad I found a person that loves The Crow as much as I do, because The Crow is just it's a beautiful movie, honestly.
It really is. It is. It's a work of art.
It really is. Like, when you watch that movie, like, it could, like, nowadays we get like a whole bunch of dark, gritty, superhero films. This was really the first, I want to say it was the first really dark and gritty superhero film. I know some people say Batman 1989, but I felt there were some silly moments in there.
Oh yeah, The Crow was just, there was no silly moments. It was all straight up dark. The whole movie was just, it really felt gothic too, but it was more of an experience than just a movie. So yeah, and then Brandon Lee dying. So there's this whole sense.
I consider that to be the most disastrous film. I consider this to be the most disastrous film ever made, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's the only comic book movie that you feel sad when you're done watching it. Most comic book movies, you're like, yeah, I had a good time, even if it's The Dark Knight. But The Crow just guts you. You feel just,
but
yeah, you feel beaten down, but you still are happy that you went through that experience.
Exactly. And really what makes that movie is Brandon Lee's performance. If he didn't work as the Crow, the movie wouldn't have worked, honestly.
Yeah, completely agree. Brandon Lee was just a revelation in that movie. He was just great.
And a thing that I agree with you in your review when I saw it is that I think Heath Ledger did get some influence from this performance, honestly, because I can tell some similarities in their performances.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And at first, when I first saw The Dark Knight, it didn't dawn on me right away, and then I went back and watched The Crow, and that looks similar. That looks similar. There was just certain things that I don't think Heath Ledger intentionally copied it, but I think it's just certain aspects of it that you can't avoid, and they just come out. You know what I mean? When you put on makeup like that too, I think it just pulls something out of you. And Heath Ledger's such a great actor. Brandon Lee's such a great actor. So, of course, there's going to be similarities, I think.
Yeah, and definitely, definitely, a thing I liked about, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, The Crow is that I saw a picture that literally, it was almost like scene by scene of remember when The Crow walks into those room full of those gangsters with all the guns and everything? There's that scene was almost exact. Hold on 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. But like
no
I'm saying, just you know some similarities in films, but it's not like, trust me, there are films that literally copy our films. Look at The Matrix and Equilibrium. I think that's what's. That is literally a ripoff of The Matrix.
Yeah, it's pretty close. I haven't seen Equilibrium in years, but yeah, I remember it being very similar to The Matrix.
Yeah, but like like you said, Dark Knight had some influential, like it tried to pay homage to the Crow in some scenes with Heath Ledger. It wasn't trying to copy it or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, another film like The Matrix, like I was just mentioning, The Matrix blew me away because of how it was just filmed. Like it just was magnificent, and
Oh yeah.
like the way they filmed the action and just the set pieces of that film was incredible and something revolutionary for their time. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it was groundbreaking. I saw that opening weekend, 1999, and it's one of the few movies that I've seen twice in the theater. Yeah, I've seen some movies twice in the theater, but that's definitely one. And one thing I remember about it too is it was number one, and then it fell to number two the second weekend. Then it jumped back up to number three. I mean, jumped back up to number one the third weekend through word of mouth because it was just so unique. And man, yeah, The Matrix is just a classic. I mean, people still talk about it today.
Exactly.
And it's been copied a million times.
Like I said, equilibrium. I can't even speak. But yeah, like that's a huge example of just a movie that literally ripped off The Matrix. And like you were saying about the back and forth with the box office, that kind of reminds me of when Guardians of the Galaxy, when Ninja Turtles came out the next week, it was boosted to number one for about 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, Guardians of the Galaxy went back up to number one. So it's interesting sometimes when
it's so cool when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, like word of mouth really helps. I think a lot of people underestimate word of mouth. Look
really
at Fantastic Four, for example.
Yeah.
That bombed. Why? Because of word of mouth.
Yeah. Everybody knew Batman, Superman, even though I love it so much, a lot of people didn't like it, and the second weekend it suffered. You know, they said it was one of the biggest drop-offs. I think 65% or something like that, which is a shame because I love that movie. But I'm interested in seeing what it'll do the third weekend. Yeah, I guess we'll see.
Me too. You know, something like with Deadpool, where it dropped off just a little bit, but not too much.
No, not too much at all.
Why? Because word of mouth was great for that movie.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Batman v Superman. Although, like we said, we really enjoyed the movie. The word of mouth really hurt it, I think.
Yeah, and if I could dissect the two just a bit, I would say that Deadpool is more of like, it's universally loved. You know what I mean? Like it's got something for everybody.
Yes.
And it's a great time. Whereas Batman v Superman, it's polarizing, I think, you know, to a certain audience. And if you're a diehard Marvel fan, you're probably not going to like Batman v Superman. And I think that's part of the thing that hurt it. You know, some people don't like really dark gothic movies either. So it just rubs them the wrong way.
I feel like some people were going into this looking like it was a Marvel film. You know what I mean? Like some people thought, oh, there's going to be humor and stuff. I feel like they just they wanted one thing and they got another thing.
Yeah, and I saw I was on a forum the other day and they were saying if there was like a shawarma scene at the end of Batman v Superman, like there was at the end of Avengers, it would have just been ripped to shreds even more. Whereas a movie like the Avengers can walk away unscathed, you know, even though they have a silly little, they're eating in a shawarma thing after there's just been this whole destruction of the whole city. You know, it's like a Teflon movie.
Exactly. But you know, is there any films that maybe you don't really like all that much, but it seems to be that there are other people that actually love the movie or really enjoy it?
Let me see. That is the tough one. You know, I would say probably Schindler's List is a tough one for me to watch just because I guess if it's a movie that's really, really, really depressing, I can see every great thing about it from a filmmaking standpoint, but I gotta have some level of enjoyment in there. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. The English Patient, movies like that, I don't like them, even though they deserve every bit of respect that they get. So those type of movies generally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm not a big fan of Titanic, honestly. That's just a movie I'm not the biggest fan of. Recently, yeah, this has sparked a little bit of a controversy for me, but The Wit.
Yeah, you're probably going to get some hate for that one. You know what? I'm kind of in the middle on Titanic. I remember I saw that in the theater, and I remember there was a guy, this big burly guy with this beard, sitting next to me in the theater, and just tears rolling down his face. That's
Oh,
one
well,
thing I remember.
you
And it
know,
was a
the
great theater
people like
experience.
that.
I will admit that. I like Titanic, but yeah, I see what you're saying. There's some people that just hate Titanic.
Recently a movie that sparked a little bit of a controversy for me because of saying I'm not the biggest fan of The Witch. The Witch sparked a little bit of a controversy for me.
Oh yeah, I really liked the Witch, but you're not alone, man. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
I
people
know,
that
I know I'm not alone, but I'm just
yeah,
saying like it sparked a little bit of a controversy. Like,
that's a polarizing movie. It really is. And I remember when I watched it in the theater, within 10 minutes, I said there are people that are just going to hate this movie. I already know it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I was a little uncomfortable in the first 10 minutes, but I was curious, to see where it went. And I loved the whole journey of the movie, but I can totally see where you're coming from. That is not a
totally
movie for
people
everybody.
are coming from if they say they love the film or really enjoy it. You know what I mean? I could definitely see that, but
Yeah.
I just personally didn't see it.
Yeah. You know what? Another, since we're talking about, people that fight over movies, because you see this a lot on YouTube, you see it on forums. Yeah, I even see it in my comments for, some of the movies, even my Witch review. There's some pretty mean comments in that, but that's one thing I never understood, like why people get so bent out of shape because of somebody's opinion. Really, and that's what it is. It's opinion on a
Exactly.
movie. Batman v Superman is the perfect example. There are people that just go crazy, almost to the point of death threats. It just gets preposterous, and I will never get upset with any person over their opinion of a movie that I don't like, or vice versa. I never could understand that.
Me too. This is the perfect example I can use. I I love Mad Max Fury Road. Like, I love
Yeah.
it. It was my best movie of 2015. I have a friend. I don't know if you ever heard of him. It's 22 Tiger Dude. I have a friend. He hates it. He hates it. But
Yeah.
guess what? I'm still friends with him because we both respect each other's opinions on the movie. I never tell him, "Oh, you're an idiot because you dislike the film." No, I tell him, okay, you don't like the movie. I respect your opinion. You know,
Right.
and he says the same thing to me. You love the movie. I'm glad you love the movie. So that's probably the biggest example I can use.
Yeah, everybody's got different things that click with them about a movie, and one example I've seen too is Man of Steel. I've heard people say, one guy in particular I heard say that Man of Steel is the worst movie he's ever seen in his whole life. How can you say that? I mean, I can think
Exactly.
of 10 movies right now that are worse than Man of Steel.
I
So
can think of 50. Okay.
I know it's I like Man of Steel, but that's how far it gets sometimes. It's crazy. I mean, I think it becomes a personal thing. If you hate a movie that's clearly, it's got a good production value, it's got good acting, it's got good special effects. So there's something innate, there's something that's personal that just rubs you the wrong way. So you hate it for a personal reason, not a filmmaking reason. That's the only thing I could think.
like Man of Steel, for example, going back to what we said about expecting one thing and getting another, people thought that was going to be another Christopher Reeve type Superman movie.
Yeah,
What,
that
what
was the
was
big
it? It was a
thing.
much darker Superman movie. And personally, even though I love the Christopher Reeve Superman and what they did for their times, honestly, I love Man of Steel more than those movies because I feel like Man of Steel took it more seriously about the whole
Yeah.
thing with Superman and everything. And that's my favorite Superman movie to this day, and it's in my top 10 personal favorite comic book movies.
Yeah, and I grew up with the Christopher Reeve Superman. My first movie I ever saw in a theater was Superman 2 when I was 6 years old.
Sweet.
And but yeah, even I'll admit I like Man of Steel more than, because I've always wanted to see Superman really, kick ass, and he didn't really do that as much in the older movies because of the limitations they had with technology.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas now you can really have that Superman movie, and for some reason, some people, they just could not let go of that Christopher Reeve Superman, so they took offense.
Yeah, like I said, I said it in my review for Batman v Superman. I think we need to forget about Christopher Reeve for this
Yeah,
franchise because Henry Cavill's Superman now, and this is a
yeah,
much different Superman from any other Superman because he's much. I want to say he's still darker. Like, he still has the Superman isms, but he's much darker. He's actually fighting people. He's
yeah.
actually trying to save the world, not. He's not going to save cats from trees in these movies anymore. You know what I mean?
No, no. Plus, it's a different world that he lives in than we had, in the '70s, and he's a new Superman. You know, he's only been Superman for a couple of years, so he's still figuring things out. And then, you know, he's hated by everybody. So you can understand why he's probably not the happiest guy in the world.
Exactly. Now, is there any movies? I think we discussed this a lot, but any other movies that you really enjoy, but people don't seem to enjoy all that much?
Oh, I'm sure there's tons of them. Let me see. Movies I enjoy that people don't like. You know, The Witch is definitely one of them. Like I said, there's a lot of people that don't like The Witch. The Boy, I really like The Boy. That's another one where I did a review on that one, and there's some comments in there that are pretty negative too.
I didn't hate it, but it was fine. It was better than most horror films that I actually have seen.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the greatest thing. The biggest thing for me was I did not see the ending coming at all, and it was the type of ending that I liked. But I could see how some people wouldn't like that ending because there's a certain, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a certain genre of films that, you know, a lot of people don't like. So if you like that genre, you're probably going to like that ending. So yeah, I liked it. I'm trying to think of another movie that I really liked that most people hate.
My number one is Dude, Where's My Car? You've ever heard that movie?
Oh yeah, I've heard of it. You know, I don't think I've ever seen it.
I love it because it's just such a silly premise, but you know what? I love it because of that, and it's just a movie I actually grew up on a lot because I did see it at. I know it's not maybe the type of film I should have saw at such a young age, but I did, and I loved it because it was just so bizarre of what happens in that movie. Like it's a movie you have to see to believe because of the bizarreness that happens in it.
Yeah, nostalgia can play a big part. I think Halloween 6 was another one for me. That's one that I love, and I think nostalgia probably does play a part in it. But I also like it because of the atmosphere, how dark it is. You actually got a Michael that's scary, you know, probably the scariest since the first Michael. So yeah, that's it. But for some reason, there's a lot of people that don't like that one. I don't really like the producer's cut, but I love the theatrical cut.
Okay. Another movie that is like that for me is the Punisher with Thomas Jane.
Yeah, a lot of people I've heard say they love The Punisher with time. Matter of fact, I just watched that one again last week.
Talk a little bit more. I just have to do something.
Sure.
All right.
Cool.
So yeah, the Punisher with Thomas Jane really is another movie that I feel like a lot of people give a lot of flack to.
Yeah, it's not my favorite Marvel movie, but it's definitely not the worst. I enjoyed it. I kind of wish they would have set it in probably New York or, you know, somewhere kind of like in the new Daredevil show. Like that version of the Punisher, I think John Bernthal just nailed it. But Thomas Jane wasn't the problem with that movie for me. I thought he was a great Punisher, and every scene that he's in, I think, is really good. I think John Travolta was probably the wrong person for that role too. But like I said, I don't dislike the Punisher. I still think it's a good movie, and I would have loved to see Thomas Jane come back for a second one.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I thought John Travolta was fine as a villain. They could have gotten somebody better, but Thomas Jane, he for a while was the best Punisher. We'll get more into that once we talk about TV. But you know, he was really great as the Punisher, and I'm a huge fan of the Punisher. He's my favorite comic book character of all time.
Oh,
and I think
one thing I liked about the movie The Punisher with Thomas Jane was how he was kind of toying with John Travolta's character and making him lose his mind, thinking his wife was cheating on him with his right-hand man. I found that aspect of the movie really interesting.
Yeah, and I like how they more or less get the character of Frank Castle more than the Punisher, honestly. Like it's more or less about Frank Castle. This is the origin story of the Punisher. Well, and in Punisher Warzone, they kind of they pull in Incredible Hulk in that movie where they just show the origin story in the opening credits, really.
Yeah. Yeah, what did you think of Warzone? Because I saw that once, and I think I liked it, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But I
It's
did like the atmosphere
it's
of it.
my guilty pleasure. Like
Yeah,
it's stupid, but you know what? I have fun with it because it gets what the violent side of the Punisher. This
yeah,
one more or less. You know what's weird? Both movies get one side than the other. The
yeah.
Punisher.
One of them's more story based, and the other one's just more straight up action. I remember it was really bloody, the Warzone one.
Oh, it's probably my most violent film I've ever seen, honestly, because just of everything that happened
It's
to me.
very violent. Yeah. What's the actor's name that plays him in Warzone?
Ray Stevenson.
Ray Stevens. That's it. Yeah. I thought he was a good Punisher, actually.
He really was.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to television.
Okay.
The only thing I really want to talk about in terms of television is Daredevil season 2.
Oh,
Now,
good. Yeah, because I just posted my review on that.
now I know you've seen it because you did a review of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great season.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was 10 times better than season 1, honestly.
Mhm.
One thing I
Agreed.
disagree with a lot of people on is the Electra storyline.
Yeah.
I thought it was great from start to finish. I was very invested from start to finish with it.
She kind of caught me off guard at first, but then I actually watched the whole season twice. I just finished it again, and watching it a second time, I didn't mind her at all through the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought overall it was like a very consistent, almost perfect season. I mean, there's maybe one or two episodes in the middle that maybe were a little bit boring, but much better than the first season. The first season, I thought it was bookended with great episodes, but then there was a lot of boring stuff in the middle. Whereas this one, I mean, every episode for the most part just had some great stuff, especially with John Bernthal as a Punisher. Man, those first few episodes are just freaking outstanding.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I was never bored, honestly. I was
Yeah.
invested throughout all 13 episodes in both seasons.
Hmm.
And, you know, by far the best thing about season 2 is the Punisher stuff. It really
Oh
is.
yeah.
Because of John Barenthal.
Mhm.
He is Frank Castle. He is the Punisher. Like, he embraced the character. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah, he's just such a great. He embraces every character that he plays. Really, he is just such a great actor.
He definitely is. Like, from the times I did watch The Walking Dead, like, I stopped very recently because I just didn't get back invested into it.
Yeah,
But he was great as Shane. Like,
he was.
he was one of the more understandable characters, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
if I'm gonna be honest, I agree with him more than Rick in the second season with like his decisions and stuff.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't remember that far back, but I remember he was put in a situation. He thought Rick was dead, and then you know, so he didn't really do anything wrong. But then all of a sudden, he just has to pull back and act like nothing ever happened. So I mean, if I was in that situation, I'd probably go a little psychotic too.
Yeah, but yeah, John Barenthal, I knew from day one this was going to be the perfect guy to play as the Punisher because I knew some people had some doubts, but I knew
Yeah.
like this was perfect. And
Now, do you know if the Punisher's coming back for season 3, or are they going to do a spinoff series, or I haven't heard anything?
it depends. I don't know necessarily if I'm pretty sure they're going to do a season 3. It is without a doubt in my mind that they're going to do a season 3. But a spinoff of the Punisher, I'm not too sure about. We'll just have to wait and see. With that, I would love that, obviously, because I'm a fan of the Punisher.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how it's going to be executed and everything. So we'll just have to wait and see. That's all I wanted to really talk about with television. Are you into video games at all?
I don't really play video games that much now. I don't really have the time. I remember though when I was about 15, 16, when the first Nintendo came out in the 80s, I was playing that pretty religiously. I was playing the Super Mario Brothers and the Duck Hunt and all those. So, but yeah, not really.
Yeah. I'm a pretty big gamer. I love video games, but if you ever want to get back into video games, I recommend play PlayStation because they have 2 exclusive games that are some of the best video games I've ever played. The Uncharted series and The Last of Us.
Yeah, I've heard both those games are great.
They are, and they're both made by Naughty Dog. It's weird. Like 2 of my favorite games are both made by the same company because they knew the storytelling is honestly movie quality storytelling.
Yeah.
And
I remember there was a Force Unleashed game. I think the first Force Unleashed game. My son was actually playing that, and I was actually paying attention to the story, and I was like, "Man, this would be a cool movie, actually," because Vader had like an apprentice, and it was the guy who played Doomsday in Smallville. But yeah, I was like, "Man, that'd be kind of cool if they actually made a movie about this," because I'd watch it.
Yeah, because like I said, video games are much more than just video games now. They're actually trying to tell an actual like story now. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
They're starting to feel like movies, honestly. Like
and I think that's one reason why so many movies on video games seem to fail, because back in the past they really weren't making or maybe just the filmmakers didn't understand what the game makers were trying to say. But I think we're going to start getting some movies that are actually pretty decent, based on video games, hopefully.
Because they're much more cinematic than, the games within themselves. Like I said, with Uncharted and The Last of Us, they feel more or less like a movie. And I honestly, even though as much as I would find it cool to have an Uncharted movie, be like kind of like a modern Indiana Jones in a bit.
Yeah.
Nathan Drake's like a treasure hunter and stuff. That'd be cool. But, the games are like experiences within themselves, and they're like a cinematic feel within themselves. I think, I don't think we might not really need movies of those. But like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing them because I
know we have an Assassin's Creed movie coming out pretty soon.
Should be interesting. And Warcraft is
Michael Fassbender, so that could be pretty good.
And Warcraft, which is being directed by the guy who made Source Code, so that should be interesting.
Oh, that could be. I saw the trailer for Warcraft, and it kind of scared me, just because the CGI looked like it kind of looked like the Hulk. And so I don't know.
Hulk. No, we're talking about Hulk from 2003.
Yeah, 2003 Hulk. That's what I meant, and it kind of scared me, but we'll see. Because sometimes they put out trailers and they're not completely 100% on the CGI yet, so. I'm gonna reserve judgment until it actually comes out.
Yeah, so that's all I want to talk about with video games, and anything else you would like to talk about?
Oh man, well we could talk some Star Wars if you want, because this week the floodgates are gonna open because Star Wars comes out tomorrow.
Goodness, yes, definitely. We can talk about that real quick because, of course, if you don't know Star Wars, what am I talking about? It's like it was the biggest film of last year. Of course, Star Wars: The Force Awakens is coming out on Blu-ray and DVD tomorrow. Yeah, let's just say it's going to be sold out. It's going to be an Animal House in stores.
Yeah, I got a pretty busy day tomorrow, actually, because after I get off work, I got to go pick it up from Best Buy, and then I'm actually doing a commentary with Circuits of Time review at 6 p.m. We're gonna put on the movie, we're gonna hit play, and then we're just gonna talk about it with Tyrell Listen and Carlos from Circuits of Time review. So looking forward to that. It's gonna be a busy day though.
Sweet. Yeah. Alrighty. There's nothing really else that I really want to talk about. Those are really all I wanted to talk about with you. I had a great time chatting with you. This was great. Thank you guys for watching this another installment of Late Night with wwefan0599. Thank you, Drumdums, for coming on here and doing this with me. This was great, honestly.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'll do it again sometime if you want. Had a blast.
Sweet. All right. Definitely, guys, check out his channel. I will leave a link into the description below. He just hit 2,000 subscribers. Let's get him to 3,000 because he definitely deserves it. He's an awesome YouTuber. He's very nonchalant. He's a nonchalant type YouTuber, very laid back. So yeah.
For the good or bad, I'm nonchalant. So.
Exactly. Guys, definitely go subscribe to him. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am, of course, wwefan0599, and we will see you all later. Peace.